about Valentine's Day, a superficial way of reminding people that love's in the air, but that's not the only thing that's in the air. So are Valentine's Day episodes of almost every TV show. However, most of them are either hit or miss, to be honest, and most of them are added to at least say they had a Valentine's Day episode that had nothing of interest to its characters. They put characters who usually don't have a romantic tryst, having one only for the sake of the episode. However, the best episodes of Valentine's Day are the ones that satirizes the holiday, but it shows for some strange reason of why it can be so endearing to some people, showing that it's not just a day about love, but also friendship and making the people that surround us know how much they mean to us, even if it's a stranger. In a Valentine's Day episode that usually comes to the topic, it's Ed and Eddie's Hanky Panky Hullaballoo, which, to be honest, it was a very unusual episode of Ed and Eddie in a lot of ways. And that's saying something knowing how fucking surreal this show can get. I mean, for once, it became the first Ed and Eddie episode that its setting takes place in school. It has the two most annoying characters, not in their trademark physical appearances, but instead as two annoying cupids who spread their love through the school halls, and has the shocking pair of an Ed with a canker who spends most of the show sexually assaulting the Eds. So what I like about this Valentine's Day special is how it takes jabs at the Valentine's Day by showing and making fun of the common tropes associated with the holiday. The cynical, jaded single guy, the guy scared of women, their nervousness of giving a Valentine's Day card to your crush, the annoyingly affectionate couple with countless cringe-inducing physical displays of reciprocal romantic feelings towards each other, and the loudmouth who brags to be a lady killer when in fact he's scared shitless of talking to women. But perhaps the most interesting aspect is that the two characters that are falling in love in this episode are an Ed and a canker sister, and the interesting aspect about it is that not only do Double D and May fall for each other because of being struck with love arrows, but before they do, each becomes surprised and amazed at an action they did. May becomes surprised when Double D gives her a Valentine's card that was originally meant for Nas. I mean, it's kind of sweet and heartfelt that Double D risks giving the girl he had a crush on a Valentine's Day card and gives it to May in order to make her feel better. She was moved and surprised that somebody actually thought of her without mocking her or in an over-the-top cartoony way of rejecting her. Double D becomes surprised and intrigued when May chews on Eddie and Ed for playing with chemicals during the chemistry class that causes an explosion. It's like the interest that each feel for each other was just starting, and when they get struck with the love arrows, their feelings elevate, and they soon begin to actually fall in love, or so it seems. This romance caused rifts between the Cankers and the Ed, very similar to Romeo and Juliet, where two feuding families go to war, and none of them are aware that the son of one of the rival factions is in love with the daughter of the other side, and it leads to tragedy. Well, in this case, it doesn't lead to tragedy, but it's very similar to Romeo and Juliet. So, in a way, this episode manages to be one of the most hilarious episodes because, as usual, it understands the concept of humor and relatability towards the audience. It manages to address topics that the audience can find relatable, but at the same time find funny, which this episode manages to succeed at when it comes about exploring the topic of Valentine's Day towards the lens of the cartoon. And I must say, it's hilarious the way that the three Eds view Valentine's Day. Eddie just views it as another way of self-indulging into his own schemes and narcissism and self-delusion that he's a lady killer, when in fact Eddie doesn't know shit about women. Double D just tries to make the most of this day, which in one of the funniest scenes, he gives Valentine's Day cards to Eddie and Ed, and Eddie says that and he's supposed to give Valentine's Day cards to girls instead of guys, and that is and I love that it addresses one of the common mistaken tropes of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is not just about couples who are in love and all that stuff. It's also a day about friendship, and I love that many people make that show that common mistake. That a lot of people just views Valentine's Day as a day only for couples, when it's also about celebrating the strong friendships we have in our lives, which Double D addresses, and Double D actually shows his care about his friendship with Ed and Eddie. And I love that Ed acts in a very over-the-top way of being scared about Valentine's Day, about approaching girls. He eats onion. He has a spider, and he even wears a plastic bag on his face, in order so girls cannot see his face. Those are very over-the-top and very childish ways, which, in a way, it displays how children will react to Valentine's Day, which Ed and Eddie does succeed at that. It explores how the way children view things, and it also shows how children will react to seeing couples going all ooh la la over each other. And I think it's a perfect display of seeing Valentine's Day to the point of view of children, and I think this show manages to once again prove how it captures the concept of childhood and manages to make the most of it. Another aspect that I like about this episode is that this standout in this episode is none other. Usually it's Ed, but in this episode it's Rolf. Rolf is the only character who, throughout the whole runtime of the series overall, Rolf is the only one who actually displays knowledge of the supernatural occurrences that happen throughout the neighborhood. One of the most famous examples is when the enigmatic boomerang walks into the cul-de-sac and wreaks havoc. And when Rolf is knocked out of the boomerang, he thanks the ants for doing so. He is the only one aware of what actually happened. And it's funny to see Rolf, in a very Rolf-like way, display his hatred for the day, and being aware of the presence of the annoying Cupids. So he decides to find a way. So he is slowly building his inner dislike and hatred, because he thinks that Cupids are there only to wreak mischief, which in a way they're attempts to bring love into the situation of the Cankers and the Eds war. It leads to more mischief and chaos. So Rolf is right in a way, but Rolf manages to take down the two mountain sprites, as he calls them, and he grabs with a dirty bucket of dirty water and hurls it at everyone else so they can wake up and realize that it wasn't real love. It was just a potion, a spell at the moment, and everyone's like, what the hell just happened? And Rolf once again succeeds at bringing back everyone to their normal state. And I thought that was pretty hilarious on Rolf's part. I really love when the writers of these Ed and Eddie decide to add on the specials, not just focus on the ads, but also focus on the supporting characters overall, and give them each a moment to shine. Rolf shines throughout all his scenes. Mary succeeds at showing how jealous she becomes of May's attentions and devotions towards Double D. And even Johnny, in his few moments on screen, he is Johnny being Johnny. And also, I like seeing Kevin for once being all gushy and vulnerable when he's given his Valentine's Day card to Nas, which in a way it feels kind of weird seeing Kevin being really vulnerable. I haven't seen him that vulnerable since the episode where he becomes completely Ed paranoid because the ads disappear, but actually the ads are are in the neighborhood but just preparing for the next scam. So yeah. And another interesting aspect of this episode is the cyclical style it has. At the beginning of the episode, it has the Cankers making fun of Mary because she's making this Valentine's Day cards for Ed, and she gets rejected, and then she gets a Valentine's Day card from Double D in order to help her make not her in order to make her feel good about herself. And in the end of the episode, Double D is made fun of by Ed and Eddie because of his short-lived romantic interlude with May. And when Ed eats his onion and opens his mouth and displays his stinky breath that knocks Eddie out and moves Double D's head in a way that reveals his Valentine's Day card for May, he reads it and he acknowledges and he actually gives a very sincere smile about it. Despite he doesn't no longer have the same reciprocal feelings for May, he'll treasure this moment, the short-lived romantic interlude, and it's kind of sweet because the more because in a way it relates to a lot of people. Like they have this short-lived romantic interludes or past Valentines. It probably didn't work, but they actually have some sort of a memento reminder of that time, which hits hard when you grow up and realize and look back at those past times. And I think this episode ended up on a very sweet note, and I think this episode manages to succeed at showing why people would hate this day, and why other people, and actually explain the topic of what is Valentine's Day really about, when it's really about spending the day with the people you really care about the most. So anyway, that's all I have to say about why Hanky Panky Hullaballoo is considered one of the all-time great Valentine's Day specials. As usual, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Also, the names of my social media accounts are going to be on the description down below as well. I'm the Lazy Reviewer, and thanks for watching.